So guys, what is going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. Hope everything's well at your end. So Chris Eubank, Mr. Chris Eubank, the controversial Mr. Chris Eubank has come out and said that he bets 10 grand that Canelo Alvarez will knock Billy Joe Saunders out. He said Billy Joe Saunders hasn't improved since the fight with him. He said that Billy Joe Saunders hasn't got any power and Canelo's just going to walk him down and knock him out when he wants to, according to Mr. Chris Eubank, Christopher Eubank Jr. And he said he feels that he can beat Canelo Alvarez. Let's break down what Chris Eubank had to say. So he's saying that Billy Joe Saunders hasn't improved. Well, Billy Joe Saunders has a style which he boxes and moves, makes it very difficult for you to catch him clean. He's got a very good defense. I disagree that he hasn't improved. I think he's grown a lot mentally. I think Chris Eubank will remember actually at the press conference where he told Eubank that Golovkin can beat Billy and him on the same night. So I think he now believes in himself a lot more. He's confidence in his ability after fighting guys like Andy Lee and Lemieux. Obviously, those guys aren't Canelo and they're not Golovkin, but nevertheless, they're still decent operators at world level, and he managed to beat them. So I think he's come a long way from a mental standpoint. I think Billy Joe Saunders believes in himself a lot more now. Also, I think when he fought Eubank, I think his fitness wasn't great. I think he's living. I won't say he's living better because we know that he's been very inconsistent, Saunders. With his career and his training and how he lived, the way he's lived. He's been very inconsistent, and he's put in some poor performances lately. I think the Martin Murray performance wasn't exactly great, but he got the job done. And the performance on the YouTube undercard, that wasn't great, but we got the job done eventually. But I think that, now that he's got the nutritionist and he's got the strength and conditioning coach and he's training hard, I feel like his fitness will be up to game against Canelo. So I do disagree that I think Saunders has grown mentally, and he's also, in my opinion, got more confidence in his ability. I do agree, however, I think you guys all are aware that I'm picking Canelo to win this by knockout. I think Canelo will stop Saunders. I know a lot of his fans seem to think that he's got a great defense and, he's going to avoid and he's going to find it, Canelo's going to find it hard. Billy Joe's going to find it hard to land on Canelo, and Canelo's will land on Billy Joe. And I just think the constant pressure on Canelo, the punch power, the body shots, I think they're going to wear Billy down, and eventually he'll get taken out, in my opinion. Listen, I think Billy's a good fighter, and no doubt about it, he can definitely box and move. But I think Eubank's right. I do think Canelo will KO him. I think Canelo will knock him out somewhere down the line. Canelo's going to get to him, wear him down. I think it's going to be I think he's going to wear him down, slow him down, and then take him out. Eubank now saying that he feels he can beat Canelo. I totally disagree with that, because Eubank has not got great footwork. He likes to have a tear up. Anyone that stands and fights with him, he'll do all right. But it depends who he's fighting against. If you're standing and trading there with Canelo, right, you're leaving yourself open. Defensively, Eubank's not that good. He's leaving himself open, and Canelo's going to be landing huge shots. And getting hit by Arthur Abraham or getting hit by Billy Joe Saunders or getting hit by anybody else, it doesn't equate to getting hit by Canelo Alvarez. So although we may think he's got a good chin, if Canelo's landing consistently with the kind of shots and powerful shots that Canelo lands, you're going to be in trouble. I don't care how big your chin is. I don't care how good your chin is. You're going to be in trouble, right? So I actually think Billy Joe's style is more problematic, and Billy Joe Saunders' style has more of a chance against Canelo than Eubank's style, because Eubank likes to have a tear-up. And anyone that comes to have a tear-up with Canelo, because of Canelo's superior boxing ability, and the fact that Canelo hits very hard and he's got very good punch variety, got very good punch selection, very good uppercuts, right hands, left hooks, body shots. He's got the full shebang. He can really smash you up if you come to have a tear up with him. I think the best style is, because Canelo's feet are not as fast as his hands, If you come and box, look to box and move, then you've got a chance. Then you've got a better chance. However, he has improved at that. That's why I don't give Billy Joe much of a chance as well, because I do think Canelo has improved at his game so much, where his feet have become more educated. He's become a way better pressure fighter now. He's become very educated with how he moves in the ring. He sets traps, and he will be setting traps for Saunders. So I do agree with the first part, but I don't think that Eubank has a better chance than Saunders. I actually think Saunders has a better chance, and I think Saunders is the better boxer out the two. Eubank is very wild, and when he comes up against a very good boxer, at times he's been made to look very amateurish. When he fought, I think he didn't do too bad against Saunders. I thought that was a close fight, but I thought Saunders probably nicked it by a round. But I do think that Saunders wasn't the Saunders that we've got today. I think this Saunders has better stamina. I think this Saunders will have better stamina if he comes prepared, which I believe he would. I think he'd make it hard for Eubank. But I don't think Eubank is as bad as what people think. I think if you put the certain type of style against Eubank, even at world level, I think he can do well. It's just that certain styles is all wrong. The guys that come and box and move and use their feet, Eubank will struggle. Like someone like Charlo, for example, I actually think Eubank could do well. Not saying he's going to win, but I think he can actually do well against that style. I think he could cause Charlo some trouble. But a guy like, Korobov, for example, I know he got injured, but that would have been a nightmare for Eubank, because Korobov was a guy that boxes and moves. So Eubank probably would have struggled against that style, and Saunders has that kind of style. Saunders has a box and move style. He boxes and moves, and that would be a problem for Eubank. Eubank needs to learn, like Canelo has, how to cut off the ring. Obviously, I'm not comparing Eubank to Canelo because there's no comparison. Canelo's on another level. So Eubank's style, for me, I think he would get put away very quick against Canelo. I think Saunders will last more rounds just because Saunders is a good boxer and he'll box and move. But I think someone like Eubank, with the kind of aggression and the way he throws his punches and the fact that he throws punches in combinations, Canelo will time him, and he'll land a lot of shots. When you're there up in front of Canelo's very dangerous. You have to box and move with Canelo. You can't afford to stay there in the pocket with Canelo, especially when he's got Canelo's he's the bigger power puncher out of the two. Eubank doesn't hit harder than Canelo, and Canelo's got a granite chin as well. And Eubank's punches aren't going to affect Canelo the way Canelo's punches are going to affect him. Canelo hits very, very hard. And Eubank's got a good chin, don't get me wrong. He's inherited his dad's chin for sure. He's definitely got a good chin. But like I said, how many powerful punches can you take from someone like Canelo? It doesn't matter how good your chin is. When he's chipping away, hitting you that hard in the body, up top, you're going to break. You're going to break. It doesn't matter how tough Eubank and how tough he thinks he is. Canelo will break him if he comes and fights. Listen, he has attributes. Eubank has attributes with the hand speed. It's just that his footwork is no good. And someone like Canelo, imagine if George Groves was able to control Eubank. Imagine what Canelo would do. And Canelo's a lot more spiteful. He's got a way better chin. He can afford to take more risks than Groves. And I just think that overall, Canelo's a more well-rounded fighter, way better than Groves. He's got a lot more to his game than Groves. So if Groves was able to control Eubank like that, what's Canelo going to do? Canelo, for me, with the style that Eubank has shown in the past, Canelo would get him out of there very quick, in my opinion. And with Saunders, I think Saunders will make it more difficult because Saunders will come and box and move and make it awkward for Canelo, 100%. So I do think that Saunders will give Canelo a little bit more to think about, whereas Eubank is quite straightforward. He'll just come and fast hands and let his hands go, but you're leaving yourself exposed. And with a explosive puncher like Canelo, that's very dangerous, very, very dangerous. It doesn't matter how good your chin is because, like I said, Eubank's not been in the ring with anybody as explosive or as big a puncher as Canelo, in my opinion. Groves was good, but Groves isn't as explosive as Canelo. He hasn't got the punch variety of Canelo. Canelo hits you with huge uppercuts, right hands, left hooks, body shots. He's all round a complete fighter. And Eubank won't have come up against anybody as skillful as that. So for me, Canelo would dominate him. and beat him up. Now, Eubank has got a good chin, so he'd absorb the punches, but not for so long. Like I said, even if you have a good chin, if you're so limited and the other guy's so powerful, eventually he's going to wear you down and break you down and knock you out. It's just, it doesn't matter how tough you are. And Canelo will do that to Eubank. Saunders, like I said, has the perfect style in order to make it difficult, where he can box and move. And I think that's the best style for someone to adopt. However, I don't think that style works anymore, if I'm honest with you. I think the guys that are potentially going to beat him are going to be the ones that are physical, strong, and like someone like Beterbiev. Like, I think that's the only guy for me at 160 to 175 that can beat him. And let's be honest, Beterbiev's style is to walk you down and bash you up. Now, of course, Beterbiev will have a huge size advantage over Canelo, so that has to be taken into account, you know, whereas these guys at 160 and 168 don't. I thought Callum Smith would cause Canelo a few problems, but he literally washed him. And I just think Canelo right now, mentally, physically, is in a different place. I just don't see any of these guys being able to match him. And I think Canelo, for me, is going to wear Billy down, hit him hard to the body, wear him down and take him out late. But I do think Billy Joe Saunders is a much bigger threat than someone like Eubank, just because I think styles make fights in boxing, right? And stylistically, for me, Saunders' style will cause Canelo a few issues. Eubank's style, for me, is up and down, man. It's you know, he's going to come, look to make it a scrap, have a war, throw his fast hands. You're not going to overwhelm Canelo with your fast hands. It's just not, you know, you're not going to be able to do that. Canelo's too strong. His boxing IQ is on another level. And he's got great punch variety. He'll just break Eubank down and beat him up. You know, and to be honest, he'll make Eubank miss. You know, the people go on about like Eubank's fast hands. He'll make Eubank miss. He'll make you, trust me, Canelo's got elite head movement. He'll make Eubank miss. As soon as he gets acclimatized to the speed, he might not even have to. But if he, you know, early on, first 1 or 2 rounds, he struggles against his speed. As soon as he gets acclimatized to his speed, he'll start making Eubank miss, and then he'll start countering with his own shots. Think about it. If George Groves was able to school Chris Eubank for vast majority of that fight, what would someone like Canelo Alvarez, who's an elite boxer, who's way better boxer, got way better boxing skills than George Groves? Yeah, he might not be as tall and might not have the range, but he's a way better boxer. We just saw, I know Groves was past his best when he fought Callum Smith, but we saw Callum Smith knock Groves out. We saw Canelo dominate. Callum Smith, literally dominate him. But it was a one-sided whooping. You know, he virtually won every round, Canelo. So we're talking about levels here. And if you put Callum Smith in with Eubank, to be honest, I think Callum Smith would have a great chance. For me, I have Callum Smith favorite in that fight. So really, and I know, listen, it's not necessarily about A beats B and he beats him, so that means he beats him. No, it doesn't work like that, because styles make fights. See, a lot of people think that Eubank isn't a world-class fighter. I disagree. I think if you put a certain style in the ring with him, I think he'll do okay. At a certain level, of course. Like, I'm not saying Canelo's an elite fighter, but I'm talking if you put Murata in there with Eubank, I think Eubank has a great chance of winning. Like I said earlier, I think Eubank would do well against Charlo. Not saying he beats Charlo, but I think he would do well against Charlo. I think that would be a very good matchup, because Charlo's not a mover. Charlo likes to fight, although Charlo is, for me, out of the two, the better boxer. But I still think that would make for a more interesting matchup. I think Charlo against, against Eubank against, trying to think, Danny Jacobs would be a good fight. Be a great fight. I think Eubank against, just trying to think of some of the champions, like Benavidez. He might do well against Benavidez, although Benavidez is bigger. That might be a good fight, because they both got fast hands. That could be a war. And like I said, the advantage Eubank has, he has got a great chin. So anybody that stands there with Eubank, you know, actually stylistically, even though I wouldn't pick him against Golovkin, I wouldn't pick Eubank against Golovkin, even now. But I think stylistically, that fight favors him a lot more. See, it all comes down to is whether Eubank can take those guys' punishment. But GG, although he's, for me, a better boxer than Eubank, he likes to stand and have a fight. So Eubank could have more success in that fight. And remember, GGG is now sliding on the other side. And Eubank, like I was mentioning, has got a good chin. So that would make it an interesting matchup. I just think GGG's power would be the telling factor in that fight. Because Eubank likes to stand and trade. Anyone that likes to stand and trade with someone like Golovkin, you're in trouble, because Golovkin punches very, very hard. It doesn't matter how good your chin is. You know, you could have a granite chin. If you come up against a big puncher, you know, you're going to be in trouble, especially if you're defensively not sound, you get hit a lot. That's why I don't think someone like Carl Froch wanted to fight Golovkin, because Carl Froch knew defensively wasn't great and Golovkin punched too hard. And Eubank would be the same. Just that fact that, for me, Froch had better skills than Eubank, and he was bigger than Eubank. So for me, I don't know whether... I think Eubank has to be matched right at a level where he has to be matched against a world champion that stands there and trades, and not a huge puncher. Like, I think Canelo and Golovkin, right? They could go to war with Eubank. But they're big punchers and they could seriously do damage. It doesn't matter how good his chin is. Because they'll wear you down. That's the problem, because Eubank hasn't got punching power. So Eubank's punches aren't going to affect them, but their punches will affect him over time. Even if he's durable and able to take their power shots, over time they'll wear him down. And then his hand speed and power is not going to wear them down, because he's not a big puncher. He's got hand speed, but he's not a big puncher. So he's not going to wear them down. They'll wear him down because they're big punchers. So for me, I think the best chance out of the two, Saunders and Eubank, is Saunders, because Saunders is going to come and look to box. Eubank's going to come to fight. And Canelo, for me, would pick him apart. But I do think Eubank, if he wants to test himself, he should go and look for the Golovkin fight, because that's the fight that I think Golovkin or Charlo, I think those two, even though I'm not saying I would pick him to win those fights, but I think I would give him more of a chance than fighting someone like Canelo. I would give him more of a chance of fighting and beating a Golovkin or a Charlo. And by the way, I wouldn't pick him in those fights, but I would give him more of a chance than fighting someone like Canelo, because I just think Canelo would pick him apart. And Golovkin, by the way, the reason why I'm saying I would give him more of a chance against Golovkin is because Golovkin's 39 now and he's past his prime. We saw that against Dervinchenko, so we don't know where he's at. Obviously, prime Golovkin, you know, he would stop him quite emphatically. But right now, I think that's why I'm saying I think he should push for that fight. That or the Charlo fight, because stylistically, those fights right now, he would have a better chance, and I wouldn't pick him, but he would have a better chance of being successful in those. But I think Canelo is a different level right now. Canelo mentally, physically is in a different space right now. And for me, Canelo would stop both Saunders and Eubank. But I don't agree with Eubank saying that he feels that Billy hasn't improved since his fight with Eubank. He has. He's improved mentally. He believes in himself a lot more. He believes that he can beat Canelo. He believes he can beat Golovkin. Before, he was saying to Eubank that Golovkin can beat me and you in the same night. So he didn't believe in himself. He didn't believe he was at that level. But after wins against your Andy Lee, your Lemieux, he now believes in himself. And also, I believe that when he fought Eubank, his fitness wasn't there, because I don't believe he was training that hard. He was unfit. Whereas now, I feel like he's training a lot harder. His fitness is there. Don't get me wrong. He's not really lived the life. So that's gonna have an impact when you're fighting an elite fighter like Canelo. But nevertheless, he's definitely going to come in that fight in shape. He's going to be fit. He's going to be 100%. You know, if he gets beat, he's just going to get beat because he's fighting the better man. I do think that the fact that if you haven't lived your life as a boxer, like you've binged and put on weight and not lived the life, I do think when you're fighting someone as elite as Canelo, that's going to show on fight now. Whereas Canelo, you never see him out of shape. He's always in shape. He's always living the life. He's always eating clean, you know. So Canelo's always living the life. So when you're fighting somebody that's more talented than you, that lives the life, that stays in the gym, you've got a problem. Because Billy Joe can't say that he's done that. He can't say that he's lived the life like Canelo. You know, the one thing about Eubank, although he's, you know, he has got weaknesses and limitations, I will say this, that I've never seen Eubank out of shape. He's an athlete. He's very physically gifted. And for me, he lives the life. He lives it in the gym. It's just that I think his ego, some poor career moves, I think have cost him. Hopefully now that he's with Roy Jones can get to him and change his mindset. Listen, I do think Eubank has the physical attributes to do something, but it's just whether he's able to translate that into a performance in the ring against somebody that can box and move like a Saunders. But now he's got someone like Roy Jones in his corner. And listen, just because you've got an all-time great in your corner, or you've got someone training you, doesn't mean that you're going to be able to emulate, you're going to be able to emulate what he tells you, because it comes down to how good you are at the end of the day. But I do think a boxing brain and mind like Roy Jones can help Eubank. And if he's not going to listen to someone like Roy Jones, then he's not got what chance. He hasn't got no chance of succeeding, because really, let's be honest, he's got one of the best in his corner. So hopefully Eubank listens, and hopefully Eubank can improve, and then hopefully we can see him in some good fights. He's got Marcus Morrison coming up, and we can see him in some big fights. But I do disagree with him with some of the stuff that he said. I disagree that he can beat Canelo. I disagree with what he's saying about Saunders. I do agree, however, that Canelo knocks Saunders out. I agree with him on that. But leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. Do you agree, disagree? What do you think of what he's had to say? And guys, remember to please like, share, subscribe to my channel. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.